This is Rostra, the St. Theodore Guerin Junior Classical League podcast, where we bring the lessons of classical study into the light for the benefit of all.
Welcome back to another episode of Rostra. We've got Robbie Fraga here with us today, and if ever there was somebody who was suited for a topic, it is you. This is, as we say, in your wheelhouse. This is where you live. This is where you do business. Is in this particular topic. So to start off, tell us, Robbie, what is your topic and why did you pick this particular one?
Okay, so my topic is the 12 labors of Hercules or Hercules. It really doesn't matter on which one you say, but I think I chose this topic because it's a very popular Greek myth. I think everybody knows who Hercules was, but it's just really fascinating to know there's more to the story. It's never it's never ending.
And you know, so for a lot of people, the Disney movie is what they know of Hercules, right? And so there's more to that story. Let's start off, though, with the two names. So you mentioned Heracles and Hercules. That really is the same person.
Yeah.
Why the two different names?
Heracles is the Greek name, and the Hera goes to, the folly of Hera because Hera hated him so much because he was like a child of Zeus. And as we may know, Zeus had a lot of affairs.
And Hercules?
Hercules is the Roman name for Heracles.
So Heracles, Greek, Hercules, the Roman or Latin version. So I think that's a good point to clear up for people. Okay, so the 12 labors. What are we talking about here? What does that mean?
Okay, so Hercules had killed his family because Hera had driven him insane. So he went to the Oracle of Delphi, like you do, to ask for penance. And he said, you have to serve your cousin, whose name is King Eurystheus.
Good.
And he goes to Eurystheus, and he gives him, at first it was 10 labors. Mm-hmm. But 2 of them get discounted for later.
So he gives him 10 labors, and obviously the word labor means work, right? So these are really hard tasks, right? Yeah. Really hard pieces of work to do. And nobody but a guy like Hercules is going to be able to do this.
Of course.
So I tell you what, let's do this. Go ahead and just maybe run down what they are, just real quick, kind of by name, what they are. And then we'll talk about a few of them, some of the most exciting ones. So what are the 12?
Okay, the first one was to slay the Nemean lion. The second one was to kill the 9-headed Lernaean Hydra. The third one was to capture the Cyrenian hind, alive this time. And then the fourth one was to capture the Erymanthian boar. Again, alive, not dead. I don't know why. This is nitpicky. The fifth one was clean the Augean stables in a day. The sixth one was to slay the Stympalian birds. The seventh one was to slay the Cretan bull. You know, like the Minotaur. Mm-hmm. The eighth one was to steal the mares of Diomedes. Not the Diomedes from the Trojan War. This is a different guy.
Different Diomedes.
The ninth one was to obtain the girdle of Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons. If you know who Wonder Woman is, you're going to hear Hippolyta, the Amazons. Familiar. The 10th one was to obtain the cattle of the 3-bodied giant Geryon. The 11th one was to steal 3 of the golden apples from the Garden of the Hesperides. And then the 12th and final labor was to bring back Hades' 3-headed dog Cerberus alive.
Now, if you're listening to those things, and really even just listening to you list them out, it almost sounds like something out of the Lord of the Rings, right? You know, go across this mystic land and find this thing. And so many of the great stories that we love, whether it is Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter
Percy
Jackson or even some of the comic book stuff, the Marvel stuff and that. We draw some of our storylines and ideas from these mythological tales. So the idea of going to a far-off place, trying to accomplish some impossible task, we just keep retelling those stories in different contexts and so forth. Now, some of these are really strange, so we don't have probably time to go through all of them in one podcast in depth.
Right.
So why don't you give us, let's start off, maybe give us about 3 of what your favorites are, whether they're your favorites because you think they're just interesting or funny or strange or whatever. Give us Robbie's highlights.
Okay, so my number one favorite would probably be to steal the apples from the Garden of the Hesperides. So in Greek mythology, the Garden of the Hesperides was like an extremely hard garden to find. Like, not even a GPS could help you find it.
Gotcha.
It's that hard.
Get that hard, okay.
And it's guarded by this giant snake. And luckily, like right by the snake is Atlas, who is carrying up the sky, not the earth. So Hercules, depending on who you ask, he asks Atlas, hey, can you get me some apples? And Atlas is like, sure, but I'm going to need someone to hold up the sky. So Hercules takes his place, and Atlas gets the apples for him, right? But Atlas wanted to go, like, why don't I deliver these apples for you? So Hercules, being really cunning, he said, oh, well, yeah, but my cape is kind of out of place. Can we trade places? So Atlas believes him, and they do. And then Heracles bails on him.
It is so funny because, right, here is Atlas's opportunity to get out from having to hold up the world, right? And Hercules tricks him into taking it back. So
it's hilarious.
I agree. It's absolutely funny. And that's one of the things, a lot of these stories, I mean, everybody thinks, oh, exciting adventure. There is that, but there's also humor in a lot of these stories. And I'm glad you found the humor in that one. All right, what's your next top hit?
Okay, my next top hit would probably be to capture the Cretan bull. So, do you all know the story of the Minotaur? Half man, half bull. So the Cretan bull was like the father of the Minotaur. Like, we all know about Minos, but like the bull, that's how he gets the head of the bull. Eurystheus wanted Heracles to bring it alive. So he does, right? But then when he sees the boar, Eurystheus gets so terrified. He's like, get that out of my face. Release it into the wild right now.
That I agree. And I can tell what's making your top list are the funny ones. And you got to see the funny in this because you're right. The guy says, go find this thing, bring this thing to me, assuming that Hercules can't do it, right? He doesn't expect it to happen. And then sure enough, here comes Hercules bringing this ridiculous bull in, this terrifying bull, and the king just gets terrified and scared.
Of course.
He's like, get it out of here, right?
Get it out of here.
So terribly funny. So give us another one that would be Robbie's.
This is actually my
top.
favorite one, and that is...
This is your absolute favorite?
Yes.
All right, take it away.
This one is the 12th and final labor. Bring back Hades' three-headed dog, Cerberus.
Hades' three-headed dog, Cerberus, yeah.
From the underworld.
Okay.
So, Heracles goes to the underworld, right? Like you do.
Yeah.
But it's really confusing because, someone from the land of the living can't just go into the underworld. But remember, Heracles is a demigod.
Yep.
He is a demigod son of Zeus, so he can basically do anything. He goes into the underworld, and there's a funny part of the story. He sees Theseus and Pirithous still trapped to their chairs from another Greek myth that I can't go into detail about.
Right.
So he frees Theseus. But when he goes for Pirithous, he encounters Hades, right?
Yep.
So he's like, greetings, Lord Hades. Can I have your three-headed dog? And Hades is like all confused, and he's like, yeah, just please don't use any weapons. But remember, Hercules is like mighty strong, so he's able to beat Cerberus into submission with his bare hands.
So clearly a major labor or task is going to the underworld and coming back. That alone is a significant task. Right? And then to get the three-headed dog that guards the underworld. Everybody knows how fierce this dog is and so forth. So it's tremendous labor and a fitting last one. Now, part of the reason these stories are so popular, right, and have lasted for 2,000-3,000 years is that we see ourselves in these stories. And I think we may have talked about this last season when we had an episode talking about the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. We all go on journeys, and things happen to us on our journeys that set us back and so forth. And so we like these stories because we see ourselves in them. So let me ask you, have you ever come across a task that seemed really impossible? and you just thought, man, there's no way I could do it. And then it turns out that you did. What was that?
Okay, so I had gone on a trip to Egypt this summer, and I honestly did not think I was going to survive all the walking, because there's a lot of walking to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, but I managed. With a sore leg, I managed to survive all the walking.
And now you can look back on that and say, I did that.
Yes.
Right? And so that's why I think a story like the 12 Labors of Hercules is such, it's fun, right? It's exciting. You got these crazy creatures that he has to go up against, and of course some of the humor that you drew out. But also the fact that we can see ourselves in that story. And we all have these tasks at times that we think are impossible. And then, you know what? Turns out we end up doing them and accomplishing them. So, yeah. Anything else about the Labors of Hercules you want to say as a final word?
I just want to say that apart from Hercules being this really, invincible demigod, everyone thinks he's the best, he wasn't perfect.
Right.
Every Greek hero had his flaw.
Yeah.
Remember, like Bellerophon, his flaw was his hubris, and that led to his downfall. Heracles' flaw was his wrath.
Yeah.
He was quick to judge things, and that's what led to Hercules' downfall.
And again, you tie that in, you think about like Superman's great flaw being kryptonite, right? That being his weakness. And so again, that's something that we can relate to, because however good we are, however good a job we do at things, we all have our weaknesses and we all have our flaws. Robbie, thank you so much. That was a fantastic episode. And we look forward to maybe having you back sometime.
Thank you for listening to Rostra. You may check out all our episodes on Spotify and follow us on social media at GarenJCL. That's at GuerinJCL.